Beyond.
Beyond.
Beyond. Beyond. Beyond. Beyond. Beyond. Beyond. Beyond. Beyond. Beyond.
I was gonna go with Beyond never changes, but why would I try to do it? It does change.
It changes
all the time.
every week.
Yeah, it changes a lot.
Podcast Beyond, baby.
Constantly different.
Hey everybody, welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 418. I'm Max Scoville. Joining me, Marty Sleva.
Hi, Max.
Brian Altano.
Brap.
And Jared Petty.
I don't have a catchphrase.
That works, I guess.
Mine
That's a
was,
decent
I said
catchphrase.
hi to Max.
Yeah.
I thought that was your catchphrase.
So obviously the big topic today is Fallout.
Yeah.
Fallout just came out. It's one of the most anticipated games of a while.
Yeah.
It's been some time. People have been really
Possibly
looking forward
of
to
this generation.
The
I think that's
21st century.
Very, very safe. I mean that and like Metal Gear Solid 5, I would say.
Yeah.
But in any case, we put it up. Dan Stapleton reviewed it. He gave it a 9.5 out of 10.
That's right.
It was a 95 out of 100.
That's
A 19 out of 20.
That's a darn good score.
Yeah.
What do we make of it?
I really enjoyed this game. It's the most fun I've had playing a video game this year, and that's saying a lot.
Now, Jared, you're kind of famously a pretty casual gamer. You don't really get too in depth with games, and you frequently you don't fully understand the systems within them. How many hours have you put into Fallout?
I think in
That's
playing,
all a lie.
playing or playing and writing, because those are two different things.
Yeah.
In terms of actual playing, probably only about 50 hours. In terms of playing and writing, at this point, well over 100.
Okay, well, given that the game has been out for like 14 hours at this point, that's pretty good. You've obviously been working on the wikis for this and everything,
Yeah.
all the guides.
Yeah.
You're also heading up a... You're heading up...
They installed the thoroughfare.
Sure.
Here.
You're heading up the Fallout podcast we're doing, right?
Yeah, that's the Vault IGN, whatever we want to call the thing. This
Sure.
week, the Fallout 4 Review Spectacular. We're having kind of a TV special.
Cool.
It's fun. We're going to have special guests like Wilford Brimley coming in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What? Really?
No. But
The ghost of Wilford Brimley?
He's not dead.
No,
he not?
he's still alive. He's talking about the diabetes.
Okay.
He's still
That
around.
guy's still
Anyway,
alive?
but no, yeah, the Vault has been, and reception from the audience has been great. Thank you so much, everybody who watched, and we really appreciate it and wrote in.
Now, obviously, a lot of people are really excited about this game. I played a very short amount of it, and I did probably the quickest 180 I've done with a game in my recollection.
What
as
was that
someone
180?
playing
Because
games.
you were coming into this super stoked. You're telling us all your cool stories about bugs and Fallout 3.
I love like Fallout 3 is one of my favorite games ever. It is the game that got me into modern gaming as an adult. Like I was in college, wasn't really focused on games too much. I played a few hours of Fallout 4 on PS4, and I was just sort of simultaneously overwhelmed and underwhelmed, and I don't want to crap all over it. I think it's still a game a lot of people are going to really enjoy, but it is exactly a game I don't want right now.
Can you qualify what was underwhelming about it for you?
So it was very familiar. You know, it felt a lot like there are parts of it that feel very new, and there's parts of it that feel like if somebody modded Fallout 3 into Skyrim's engine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I was kind of expecting. One thing I was really hoping for was that we wouldn't have loading screens. You know, because
I will say that was probably one of my biggest issues with it, and we'll get into all that obviously today. We'll be talking a lot about Fallout. If you're not into it, and by the way, we'll do our best to stay away from any sort of story spoiler
sure.
stuff.
We'll avoid that. Sure.
I don't think that's fair for you or fair for us or anything like that. So we'll keep this pretty clean.
Yeah.
But I think that I was expecting more of that kind of generational leap, and I think at the start of this generation when we bought PS4s and Xbox Ones and high-end gaming PCs, a lot of people really expected that sort of jump from like Nintendo to Super Nintendo, or when games went 3D. And then I think when the dust settled a little bit, we realized that this gen wasn't really about that. It was really more about refining a lot of the infrastructures and systems that we had on last gen, which meant that a lot of the things that we had maybe become over encumbered with, no pun intended for Fallout, we wouldn't have to deal with anymore. And loading screens being one of the big ones. And I was a big guy for Bloodborne this year. Bloodborne notoriously had minute-long load screens.
But the difference is it had a minute-long load screen, and then until you die, you don't get another loading screen.
Yeah.
So if you're after a couple hours in the game, you could have 30, 40 hour-long runs without a loading screen.
Yeah,
If
you could
were
actually
really good at one of the hardest video games.
Yeah,
of the year.
sure.
Which, I mean, I wasn't really a big Souls guy, but that was one of those games that loaded in 60 seconds. It's a pain in the ass. Fallout has a lot
to
of
clarify,
loads.
the load screens are the kind where if you want to go into a building, it shows you to one of the many lovingly rendered objects in the Fallout universe rotating. It's basically a Skyrim load screen.
Yeah, but with actually helpful tips this time, which is very nice. So
Yeah,
the
that's
tips
absolutely.
of the screen,
It's nice to have.
It's not like, hey, run faster by holding this. It's like, here's this kind of weapon, which we are just confirming exists in the game and the kind of places you might find it. And you're like, whoa, that's great.
My immediate, I'll be honest, I didn't put much time into the game. I kind of sort of stuck a couple toes in and was like, I think this is too deep. Like I'm not in the right place for this right now. Like I'm feeling, frequently overwhelmed by work. I have a house, I have a dog, I have a fiance. Like there's a lot of stuff that I should be spending more attention to.
Sure.
And I threw 90 hours at Metal Gear.
Yeah, I was just about to say. So what was it about Metal Gear a month or two ago that was different? Do you think?
Because you had a dog then too.
You did have a dog then.
He has a dog in that
Maybe
game.
I've already trained one virtual dog this year, and it's kind of that's.
So is that it then? Are you fatigued on open world games?
I mean, no, I think it's specifically that Fallout is a lot of moving parts. And I remember distinctly going from, I think I jumped from playing Fallout 3 to playing Red Dead Redemption and being a little bit annoyed that you couldn't pick up and look at every single object in the universe.
In Red Dead?
Yeah, and I was like, there's pans on the back of the cart, but you can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
And there was a time when I really wanted that, but at this point, like playing Fallout gave me the same kind of weird anxiety I got when my house is too messy. Like it feels like it's kind of a junk shop of a game, and junk shops are cool. I like to go to them. I like to go to flea markets and yard sales and stuff. But it's a game that's all about finding bits and pieces and connecting them, and then kind of refurbishing a house. And it's just like this is a game that is doubling down on the fact that people will live in this game.
Well, it's like you said, underwhelming and overwhelming for you. Both the arguments you made that made you feel negatively about it, those are things that made me feel positive about it. And they're and I acknowledge the legitimacy of what you're saying there, but you talked about it being, very familiar. Well, for me, it was kind of like, it was a lover's gentle embrace type thing. Hey, I've been away for many years. I've come back, and there you are.
I mean, they're
Let's
not
get to know each other
shy
again.
about that. The slogan of the game is "Welcome home."
Yeah, and and I loved that. It felt it was comforting to go back to. It was something I discovered. Hey, I've missed this. And then the new degree of complexity. I mean, yes, they've streamlined some of the systems. The perks are much simpler than the old skill system, but they've added the crafting layer, which is a whole other world of new mind-numbing, like everything you pick up now has a purpose and a useful purpose.
Well, it has a purpose if you get involved in that crafting system, which the game never really truly makes you feel like you have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have
part
to.
of what I like about it.
It is an essential part of some basic rudimentary mission structure to create a generator using trash and rubber nipples that you find, and connecting it to a wall and setting up a reception tower to make a transmission. And that is part of a mission. You can haphazardly, diagonally slap that generator down to the ground, slap the thing next to it, connect it with a wire using the button, and walk away. And that's about as much crafting as you would have to do.
If you have to. But if you want to, you can go in there, and not only does crafting reward you with new traders to visit your town, with new wares that you're not going to find other ways, but it also gives you hours and hours of entertainment fighting off different attacks and trying and experimenting with different things. You can level up just by building stuff. There are perks just for building stuff. It's very, very Minecrafty. I appreciated that all that's there, and they're like, yeah, you can do that if you want, and there's a use to it and great rewards, but you don't have to. You can walk away from it. I like that.
That's kind of my crux, the crux of my issues with this game. Okay. And I probably fall somewhere between the two of you on this, in that you're totally in love with it, and Max, you're sort of not. You're just kind of off-put by it. You only played the first few hours. I played almost 25 hours of Fallout 4. We got our copies about a week or two ago. People were tweeting at me like, "How'd you play 25 hours in 25 minutes?" I mean, look at where I work. It's like one of the few. I can't dance, right? But one of the things I can do is get a game early and play it for a while, and
you can learn how to dance.
Yeah, I don't
feel
think
like you'd be a really good.
You can dance if you want to.
He actually will dance to "We Built This City on Rock and Roll."
Yeah.
Oh, let's see.
Your wife told me about that. It's pretty funny.
This city.
Well, I mean, they built this city on rock and roll.
It's amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah. Which you can probably do in Fallout. So one of the things
that was just so sad.
One of the things that okay, so let's just get this out of the way, because I've had this on my chest for a while. This is a very giant, very beautiful looking game. There are a lot of people that are looking at this game saying it's ugly and texturally it's not as impressive. It looks like people are like, it's a PS2 game. Look at the dog. He doesn't have as much fur as the dog in Metal Gear.
I think most of those assessments are based on the creepy baby.
I totally get that, and I think that if you boil down a lot of this game to just tiny little pieces of it, it's so easy to be reductive.
Right.
But what you have to do is look at the big picture and say there are moments when the star of this game is the world. And we were walking around this world, and you were watching the weather and the night and day shift, when all of a sudden this toxic fog rolls over this hill, and it's going through a familiar area that you've passed through 4 times already. But you're seeing it for the 5th time with this thick green smoke over it, and there's these super mutants busting out. And in the horizon, there's the silhouette of a creature that's unlike you've ever seen before. And you know when you approach it, you're going to die, but something makes you want to roll that dice and get there. There's something immaculate and magical about that I've never experienced in any other game. Not even Fallout 3. I think there's something here that's doing that on such a better level than it ever has before. And I think that world and those creatures and exploring sections of, like, I was walking along a pier, and all of a sudden, like, 4 toxic nuclear lobsters popped out of the ground and started fighting me and my friends, my companions in the game. This ragtag group of a dog and a robot and this other guy who just happened to be hanging out with me because of the way I carved my mission structure. There's a lot of really magical moments that happen like that. And those are the things that kept me going, because it was very difficult otherwise to really put up with a lot of what the game couldn't do for me, which was ultimately respect my time as a gamer. And when I play a video game, I kind of want a mix of that. I want that open world, I want that exploration, but I also want to feel like I'm doing something that is incrementally improving me. And I never really connected with that with Fallout, because I felt like the gun upgrade system, while huge and massive, was a little too tedious. It got to the point of almost like tweaking your air pressure in a Gran Turismo game.
It does feel that way sometimes.
And it's just a little too much like, well, wait a minute, that's a little too deep there. Or I would end up doing 7 or 8 side missions in a row for one of the different factions. And then after 7 hours of it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. I have a baby. I should go find that baby. And then I would go down that rabbit hole. Now,
rabbit well full of dead rabbits.
One of the things I really appreciated about Metal Gear Solid 5 was the way they had a main mission structure and a side mission structure. And they were very detailed. And the more side missions you did, the more main mission stuff you'd unlock. And the more main missions you did, the more side missions. And they kind of spoke to each other constantly. Fallout just goes, here's a list.
Yeah, and that's actually, you are defining this perfectly. That's what I love about it.
But that's what you love about it.
Exactly. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a bento box. Everything in its proper location. Here's how it all fits. Fallout's a casserole. Just throw it all in there, bake it. It's heavy, it's messy, it's probably bad for you, but boy, it's
I wanted to talk about the food metaphor is really important, because I saw something being passed around a few weeks ago that I think fits perfectly with this, which is that at the start of this generation, the end of last generation, we saw a lot of that, like, sort of rudimentary way of describing DLC as like a hamburger, right? So,
I remember that.
Do you remember that, right?
Yeah.
So there's this cheeseburger, right? And it's like back in the day when you bought a video game, you just got the cheeseburger, had all the toppings. Now you buy this sad hamburger, and they sell you the lettuce and the tomato and everything like that on the side. And somebody put those two next to each other, and underneath they said, and here's Fallout 4. And Fallout 4 was this stacked, gargantuan, leaning tower of cheese, a disgusting mess of a hamburger that's just falling apart, but it's got all the toppings and it's huge, and you could eat it for the rest of your life. But I don't know if that's a good burger to pick up. I don't know if I want to put my mouth on that thing, because it's just like, I don't know if all of it doesn't mean it tastes great. It doesn't mean it's easy to hold or anything.
Doesn't mean the middle's going to be cooked through.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but it doesn't mean all the things that are there are really great.
Carrying the food metaphor to the nth degree, though, the nice thing is you can pick, with Fallout, on most of the things you can pick at it, take a taste, be like, I don't really like that part, so I'm just going to go over here and do this good part right
So
there.
you shouldn't talk with your mouth full.
If we're going to go that direction with the food thing, I think it's also kind of like an all-you-can-eat buffet. And you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and you're like, oh, they got crab wrapped in bacon, they got crab rangoon, they got hot dogs for some reason, they got weird square pizza,
are you at
Jello
Ryan's
cubes.
Mega Bar, or where are you? This is
I don't
amazing.
know. It's
So are you saying
all-you-can-eat buffet? And you're like, I got to get my money's worth. How do I? And you try to, you take bits and pieces of everything.
But sometimes you accidentally fill up on white rice.
Yeah,
Like sometimes you eat too much bread.
Sure.
So
compare that to a restaurant that has a fixed menu, and you go in there like, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and we bring them to you in order, and you get to enjoy them one thing at a time.
Right.
And somebody has been like, here's some level of curation. And obviously, everyone wants different things when they consume something, whether it be food or media. I always would get annoyed. My fiance and I both got really into Skyrim together, and she will frequently, if it comes up in conversation now, she's like, I never even beat it. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like there is the campaign that they market the game with, because people kind of need to have that one carrot in front of you. But the main story of Skyrim was a thing you could plow through in a few hours, and there were much deeper, more interesting things there, but it's less marketable than, hey, there's dragons.
Right.
And I feel like Fallout 4 is I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, probably the same way.
Yeah, it's a world.
No,
Yes.
it's a world, and it's just a kind of a wide open. I mean, it's just an excuse to go stumble into something wonderful.
It's a world, yes.
It's almost what I hoped MMOs would be back when they first came up
Sure.
with them, except I don't have to deal with other people's crap.
Yeah.
It's just wonderfully wide open, and it's a land of discovery. It's got the same thing that brought me into the original Legend of Zelda.
I think one of the reasons the discussion on this game is so sort of polarizing, and like you said, like it is the same topic that people are falling on both sides of the fence on.
Yeah.
There are people who are calling this game of the year, game of the generation, and other people who are saying I put my 5-10 hours in and I think I'm done. And I think the difference is 6-7 years ago, whenever Fallout 3 came out, we didn't have a lot of games, especially console games, this big.
Right.
We didn't have games
Right.
like this. Cut to 2015, and we live in a post GTA 5 world, a post State of Decay. This year was Dying Light and Witcher and Metal Gear and Arkham and Assassin's Creed, and this is a thing where we're almost open world. These massive 100-hour open world games are becoming the 3D character platformers, or
That's
the
a
World War
great
II
point.
shooters.
That's a
where,
great point.
like, I think we're going to be hitting a saturation, and there are still going to be people who want to play those. But I think some people are just going to be like, all right, I think I'm. It's like eating the best pizza every night for 3 weeks, and eventually, like, I need something else.
I think it's conversely like multiplayer. There was that period last generation where every game would suddenly have multiplayer in it. People were like, but I don't know why. Why would you want that?
Yeah, I don't need the Tomb Raider to have multiplayer.
Why does Lara Croft have to fight other
And
Lara
and that's the
Crofts?
thing.
I don't
Like
understand.
I've played almost all those games you just named, right? And I actually really loved a lot of them. And I think what they did really well was kind of respect my time. And I felt like as if there were moments in Fallout where I was spending a semester in the wrong major. You know, you can easily fall down the rabbit's hole or whatever we called it, where you level up a
Fall
perk
the water
system
ship down the rabbit well.
Yeah. Well, you level up a perk system that actually leads you nowhere. You know, where you're like, well, it's like that Louis C.K. bit about having a bunch of Prussian francs.
Did you feel like the perk system just wasn't clear? Or?
No, I think that it's very simple to sort of be like, oops, I accidentally majored in melee combat, and like maybe that's not particularly helpful for a little while.
Can you not respec?
Okay, you have one opportunity to respec. It's right after the tutorial. This is actually in our.
So it doesn't really-
This is in our guide right now. Like we put this on a page today, but it's just like make a save file right there. To skip the tutorial and start right off. But yeah, if there's another way to respec, I haven't run into it.
So I think that this game and the people now, and there's something I watched very fascinating about this game. We'll talk about this right now. Is that people had a very preconceived notion about what it could be and what it should be and what it is before it even came out. Which happens with all games. I mean, that's the reason people pre-order. You put your $5 down, and you feel like you're legally allowed to say anything you want about any game, right?
Oh, are you?
Usually,
I was kind of hoping that was how the universe worked.
yeah. Usually positive. And I put a stupid meme in the Beyond group today where I took the bug-eyed guy from Assassin's Creed Unity, which is a glitch that happened when you play that game on the max spec PC, versus the dog getting stuck in the stairs in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And on the left I wrote game breaking for Assassin's Creed, and on the right I wrote charming. For Fallout 4.
That's a great analogy because Bethesda does get a write-off for this stuff, and
Why though? Is it ambition?
I think it's two things. All right, first, one, let's talk about one. It's the ambitious scale. Yeah, they're just doing this enormous interactive thing, and we write it off maybe because it goes all the way back to that DOS background where you're used to tweaking with your PC and hoping it would work. And this giant open area with all these moving parts. But the other part of it, I think, is it's kind of like a Godzilla movie. People who like Fallout games are kind of like people who like Godzilla movies. They're big.
You're talking about like the Japanese ones?
Yeah, the Japanese ones. You go in and you see the little strings on the airplanes and the man in the rubber suit smashing the city. It's all fake. It's all screwed up. If I went and saw a Terminator movie and I could see the string moving the helicopter, or I could see this
so the
horrible
glitches
CG,
are part of the appeal.
I would make fun of it. But Godzilla fans know this is part of it. I think that for Fallout, the people go in with this kind of the same attitude.
I mean, Vox wrote an article about having to nuke an 11-hour save file because somebody got stuck in an elevator.
Yeah.
Is that seeing the strings, or is that because I feel like
that's irritating.
That's a war story.
I walked out of a building in that game after waiting 45 seconds from a load, and I stepped off of the steps and I got stuck between a wall and a tree.
My problem.
This happened to me twice in the game, and I had
how you nuke an 11-hour. Okay, again, so I've been playing these games since the beginning of time. I'm an old PC guy, so I know you save every half hour.
Well, that's the other thing, and like you need to constantly quick save in this game.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you to do that. You just have to know to do that.
Yeah, it does it every time you check your Pip-Boy and change something, it autosaves. Things like that do happen.
But not for mission structure, basically.
Yeah.
If I fast travel to a location where a guy gives me a mission, and I take on that mission, and I go to start that mission, and I walk, or fast travel again, or walk 30 miles across the city to get to the next thing, and then I die, and I hadn't quick saved, it loads up the save that was basically 1 or 2 fast travels ago.
Yep.
After a 60-second load time.
Yep.
And I'm not saying you don't need to be a casual gamer to understand that that's kind of a pain in the ass, right? But they don't tell you that. And there's a lot of things that they pretty much don't tell you flat out, which I'm okay with. I don't need my handheld. But let's break this game down. Let's really break this down here.
That's fair.
The graphics are pretty good, right? The world is gorgeous. The art direction is unmatched.
The art direction is
unmatched, hands down. The graphics are pretty good. The story is not great.
The story. Well, it depends on how you want to define the story. The story for a big open world game works fine. Sean is the MacGuffin to drive you forward. Okay, but I think the story of the game, again, like most of these kinds of games, is what you make it. They give you all kinds of hooks. This is a game primarily about creating your own narrative. Second, about following the narrative in the tale. The narrative in the tale is passable. It's not egregious. It's not. It's not video game dumb. It's not, Call of Duty guy.
No,
it's not that kind of thing. You've got somebody put some effort into it and created a narrative that's flexible enough that you can ally with 2 completely diametrically opposed bodies. You can choose one of them, and in a big open world, either one of them is going to play out in a logical, satisfying way. Well, that's hard to do. So
no, it is hard to do, and that's why they didn't nail it. Because they start you with the game thinking that you are siding with one of those teams and that's your home base. And it's really not. Nothing in the game tells you it isn't. And again, freedom of player choice, but that's not entirely illustrated. And I don't think it needs to be, but I think it needs to be a little more defined that you do have that choice. Because right off the bat, they're basically just like, here's the thing, and then they walk away from it. And it's kind of like the crafting system. I believe that these things were integral parts of the game's relationship with the player at some point, and throughout the process of developing this game, those things were dropped or fell to the wayside.
I don't feel that way
Jack of all
about
trades.
it. No, I really don't feel that way.
Interesting.
About it. I feel like it's more like a playground. You build a playground for a bunch of kids. You put a sliding board. You put whatever that spinny thing's called.
Sometimes kids get stuck between the parts.
Yeah, you got the teeter-totter. You got the
break their legs and have to nuke themselves.
The dog can't get across the rope.
And you get dropped off at the playground. It's like, what do you want to play on? It's this and this and this and this, and they're all fun. And you can run between them, or you can spend all your time on the slide, or you can whatever makes you happy. And at the end, the sun's going to go down. It's going to be time to go home. The game's over, but you had a good time.
Unless you got a wood chip in your knee.
Unless you got a wood chip in your knee, that can happen. Or you burn your legs on the slide.
Yeah,
shorts.
that's happened.
Was that an arrow in a knee joke?
I didn't think it was. I was about to say,
I spent 25 hours in this game, and I felt like I was constantly walking around, expecting to find the next big thing that would keep me to get going. And it made me realize that this is not a game of highs.
No, that is absolutely.
There are no monumental, phenomenal moments in this game that really go, wow, a great set piece, great battle, great this, great that. I mean, you do have some pretty good fights that go, man, that dragged out longer than it should have, but I prevailed. But there are a lot of mediums and lows, and I think it's like stacking up those mediums and lows bring you up to a game that most reviewers, including ours, have called a great game.
And I think the main difference between me and you is that I feel like it's mediums and highs as opposed to mediums and lows.
Okay.
I'm a little more on that end of it, but you're right. There aren't too many moments that were just awe-inspiring, except, again, those ones that happen to emerge that you were describing earlier, almost poetically, when you're talking about walking through the same area the 5th time, the lighting, the different creature coming over the crest. I remember a lot of those moments.
Which is what keeps me going.
And it also makes me. It's also funny. That's another thing that helps. It is very funny in places.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot. I mean, the first time, I'm not going to spoil Deacon, but the first time Deacon did his thing and I didn't know it was going to happen, I was like, what? Huh? And then about half an hour later, it happened. And eventually,
you're not good at not spoiling things.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We don't know what it is.
Did he smash a watermelon with a hammer?
No, I can't tell
Mr. Gallagher's?
but it's very funny and made me laugh and laugh.
Yeah, I think.
So I mean. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just very quickly. I think I've adored the past week or two of this game in this office because it's inspired some of the most interesting discussion of any game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
honestly, in my time in the industry,
wow,
like it's some of the most interesting, just fly on the wall conversations of people who absolutely adore it and people who cannot get into it. And it's one of those like no one's right, no one's wrong, which I love.
Right.
And games don't generally do that. Like everyone came out, 90% of us came out of Metal Gear like, this is the best.
Yeah.
Came out of Bloodborne like, this is the best.
Yeah.
Like, I love the fact that this game, people can argue that this game is a 10, and people can argue that this game is a 6. And neither of them are wrong.
Yeah.
I love that.
I would never say 6. I would probably say mid-7s.
It's almost like this is something that's too big to accurately reflect on a scale of 1 to 10, even if you use decimal points. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, we have to do it anyway.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
It's reader
we don't.
service,
Are you saying
but,
this-
but we
But
don't.
I mean, that's the thing is, and I'm sure that people are probably mad at us. Hi guys, but I want to say that like having a negative opinion about a game, it kind of lends it some credence. I'm not saying I hate Fallout. I'm saying I didn't like Fallout, and that actually sucked for me because I like when games are fun.
Well,
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I think that being able to have a discussion about what does and doesn't work in a game, especially on a game of this scale, it's awesome. You know?
I will say that though that no matter where you are, who you are, what game you're reviewing, your acceptance for the amount of glitches and freezes and stutters and like on certain versions just flat out you throw a grenade and you hope for the best, and when it comes back, either you're dead or they're dead.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. And I know that's the Bethesda charm and all that stuff like that, but that is unacceptable to me.
No, I don't think people are ever. Maybe they are, but I don't think anybody's ever writing those annoying moments off as the Bethesda charm. I think it's the fact that funny things also happen.
Yeah, but that's not entirely fair because
yeah.
I've been reading a lot of stuff leading into the launch of this game that says, "Don't worry, they'll patch it." And B, wait until the mods kick in. When the mods come in and do all the dirty work that they couldn't do themselves. And I don't personally find that to be a cherishable ecosystem to create where a game can live.
Well,
I think it's giving people a free pass.
One of the things about this is like, trust me, I got a lot of this flack last year when I reviewed Assassin's Creed Unity, is that you are experiencing all of these problems.
Right.
That doesn't mean everyone else is. And that's the thing, and I think that's why people, when you voiced your opinion on it, some people immediately got so defensive. Even before
people
they
who
played
hadn't
the game.
played it,
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think when Dan played it, I don't think he did get a lot of those things.
Right.
He was also playing on PC, and from the sound of it,
No,
it's
he was playing
it's
on Xbox One.
Was he?
Oh,
He
played everything.
One first, then
But
went
he
to
said the PC version
Yeah.
is remarkably better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it seems
I
like it seems
agree.
like it probably is.
Well, I mean, I had people telling me like, why'd you get it on consoles?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, because they're selling millions of them on consoles. That's a thing you can do in a store today.
And I
Yeah.
think it's fair criticism to look and say, guys, you could have done better with this.
Yeah.
But again, they understand what the threshold for tolerance is. They have learned through Skyrim that they'll have a mod community come behind and effectively do a year's worth of quality control for them.
And put the
That-
Macho
Right.
Man
You
in there.
You can get away with that. And I occasionally do enjoy when I walk up and whack a mole rat and it flies 1,000 feet off the map over the curvature.
Oh, I
of
love
the
that.
earth.
Stuff
You
like
know,
that's great. I'm
but-
actually okay with stuff like that. You
But
know?
I got locked. I lost a main game mission save, locked into an endless loop where I was bumping up against a terminal, and I had to go back, quite a ways, but to my last save point because. Being an old PC guy, I've learned you just always save.
Are you
Yeah.
playing on PC?
I'm playing on PC. Yeah, I started on PS4, but I switched over to PC as quick as I could.
So I really loved Skyrim, and I was just thinking about this. Like, I feel like I could jump back into Skyrim right now and play it and enjoy it. And I was playing on that on 360, and I feel like that suffers a lot of the same problems I'm having with Fallout 4 on PS4. And I'm trying to think what the difference is really. And I think a lot of it is that Skyrim, there's a sense of discovery in that it's something that, like, it's wilderness. It's this barren wild. It's this kind of it's this simple. It's old timey fantasy versus a futuristic junkyard.
Right.
And there's a sense that, like, in Fallout, everyone's already been here. Everyone's already been here to the point that it's a problem.
I could see that.
And
When
I
Skyrim
kinda,
it feels like it's fresh footprints.
Like I drove by a shanty town of homeless people this morning on the way to work. Like I had to go through like a messed up train ride to work.
I
Like,
That's what
specifically-
Sam Claiborne says that's his problem with GTA games a lot of the time. Is
Right.
That he wants to play in a big open fantasy world, not a
Yeah.
big open real world. But in the case of this particular game, Fallout 4, setting it in a post-apocalyptic Boston as an American history nut, like, this is every bit as satisfying as a fantasy world could be, maybe even more. So I'm just like, I'm at the Old North Church doing this amazing thing. I'm at freaking Bunker Hill looking across the way to where Breeds Hill ought to be. That's a flying USS Constitution. Like,
I totally agree with both of your points. I mean, I love wilderness settings in games. I love stuff like that. I'm also a huge junkie for post-apocalyptic dystopia and walking around some sections of Fallout and being like, I'm in this town that people lived in 200 years ago, and the only thing left are robots and ghouls. It's very fascinating to me. On the flip side, I played that game for 9 hours straight last Saturday, and I was in a nightmare world where crazy people were running at me and screaming, and there was trash everywhere. And then I walked outside of my apartment with my wife to get dinner, and I saw the same things in real life. Like walking around downtown San Francisco is. I get a lot of that out there.
Not all that
robots and nightmare ghouls.
Yeah, just a lot. Yeah, there's just a lot of robots and nightmare ghouls. It's the kind of city we live in right
quite
now.
apt.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's obviously a very personal, very specific thing. I will say that, like, if you're looking, every year there's one game that is the game to get if you can only get one game, and I still think that Fallout is it. I mean, if you want one world,
oh god,
like this is it. Like there's so much there, and if you can get into all of it, then yeah, it's going to grab you forever. I was begging for it to stick its hooks in me, and it just never really did. It felt like something that was bad for me, but that I kept taking part in. You know, it was like drinking or alcohol or cigarettes or something. Okay. Where I'm like, I have this in the house, and you get very little enjoyment from it, moment to moment. But in the long run here, like it's kind of it's nice to have it there. But I know it's ultimately bad for me. I never felt like I respected my time.
Is drinking bad for you?
It's bad for you.
Yeah.
That's why you shake all the time.
I felt like I was eating magical Halloween candy that never made me full and never gave me diabetes. Like I was
sounds
just
like a punishment that like the Greeks would put on some guy.
That's a cutscene from
Halloween candy.
Yeah.
Sisyphean, is that the word you're looking for?
Yeah,
it's
Sisyphean.
funny.
That would be. What was
But like, you know,
so
like,
I tweeted out the image, the two screen caps from that Simpsons episode where Homer's eating that giant sandwich. And he starts out, and he's like, it's this like 6 foot long sub, and he's like, this is gonna be great. And Marge's like, throw that thing away. And then by the end of it, he's like dying of botulism, and he's got this like raggedy, and he still loves it. He's like carrying it around with him. And I feel like that's not just Fallout, that's open world.
It's every open world
honestly,
game.
That's just games.
I mean, it's funny because I would love to hear what old College Max would have thought of this game.
I would have loved
it. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like
about it, yeah.
Goldfarb, he hasn't started it yet, but he's like super worried about it. He said he put more time into a single playthrough of Fallout 3 than any game ever. He put in like 250 hours or something insane like that. Mm-hmm. But that was when he was in college. That was when he was, you know.
He didn't have a lot, you know, like me. That's the thing. Like, there were many times where I sat down and played this game for 3 or 4 hour chunks, and I walked away going like, I don't really know what I did. Like it's totally possible to play that game for 3 hours and not accomplish much.
That is absolutely
so.
True.
Isn't that? I mean, that's kind of an issue, right?
No.
Why? Why no?
The point of the game is wandering around and doing whatever you want, and sometimes doing. You know, it's just like some of my best memories of college are sitting around in a dorm with friends, wasting time for 3 hours, just talking about whatever, and suddenly it's 3 a.m. Like, where did that time go? We don't even really remember what we talked about, but I feel nothing but warm, happy memories.
Oh, I know. I love that.
What I mean is that's how I feel about this game.
Max and I do a podcast like that every week. Like that's we've legalized that drug.
Those 3 hours, I'm like, what did I accomplish? I don't know, but I sure had a good time.
So I will say that there was no time where and maybe you feel different, and that's why I'm glad you're here today. There was no time when I never finished a play session of this game going,
Okay, no, that definitely I did, and beyond that,
Beyond,
exactly.
That was the calmest Beyond we've ever
That
done.
was very calm. Beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
Stop it.
See, that was a louder one.
Bad dog.
I can't think of a synonym for beyond.
Furthermore.
Thank you very much, Mr. Synonym. Furthermore,
Cinnamon.
worked on this probably, again, over 100 hours in a week, and that meant not a lot of time for sleep or anything
It also,
else
you
in
never
life.
really stopped playing it, I guess.
But that was kind of it. Yeah, never stopped. And those sessions, frankly, make most games less enjoyable.
Yeah.
I was amazed how much I couldn't wait till I could put the pen down and start
and
playing
get back
again
in there,
so that I could find out what was going to happen.
Right, and I had that too, but I think it came from that sort of unnerving disappointment I would get from like a 3 or 4 hour session of like I would play it and it would always end in either I'm tired, I'm bored, or I'm frustrated. Every now and then it'd be like, "Boy, that was a really cool fight," but then I would push a little further. It's like having a perfect date and then just like on the way out to the car, totally screwing it up by talking for an extra 2 hours.
That makes our jobs as critics really difficult here on this. Trying to reflect or we want to let people know, hey, are you going to enjoy this or not? Here's everything we can tell you about it. You definitely want to look beyond the score and listen to all these they did it again.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the score and look at all the arguments people are making so that you can make an informed purchasing decision as to whether or not you want to put your money in.
And if you have money to buy a new console and one game, get this game.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of it, really. I mean,
Yeah, I'm still not going to tell you not to. I just think that, I personally think there's better open world experiences this year.
I really want to go back to The Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, what do we got the rest of the year lined up? There's I want to play Star Wars, which is going to be very casual, very very junk
Just
food.
Cause.
Yeah.
And I want to play Just Cause because that looks really really stupid. That looks like it's going to be my Shadow of Mordor. Like I didn't expect it, and I'm like, you could ride on a dog? That's crazy. I'm going to jump off the side of a building.
I'm looking forward to Just Cause.
I'm going to hypnotize these bees to go kill each other.
Yeah.
Whatever that game.
Let us know what you think of Fallout.
I think that's wild, isn't it?
If you're listening to the show, you're probably already 10 hours into it. I saw people who were like, oh, I took off of work to play Fallout. I'm like, how long did you take off for? Like, because a day.
Did you quit?
Yeah. Did you quit? Because a day is not going to get you in there.
No, it's not. This is a religion.
Yeah, this is a whole big thing, and we're obviously going to be talking to me for a long time. And I do want to say that I am walking away from the game right now, but I will probably return when. I always say this on the show: games grow and they change in our absence, and this game is going to continue to grow and change. And I'm excited to see what the mod community does with it. I'm excited to see what Bethesda does with it. Like, there's a lot here, and it's going to be around for a long time.
You were the Douglas MacArthur of Fallout.
Thank you very much.
Return.
I'm gonna wait until some hype dies down, and I might check it out. But right now, don't feel like it.
And I'm going to play it for the next month because it's my job.
And there's a gun to the back of your head.
Speaking of a game I played recently that I think really did and does respect my time, and I know this is a PlayStation podcast.
You're not allowed to talk about this game for a year.
We could 1 year. We can talk about this game a little bit.
We'll talk about this game.
Uncharted 3.5. Right?
So let's talk about Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Okay.
Now, Rise of the Tomb Raider was kind of an incredible palate cleanser for me after Fallout, because unlike Fallout, I felt like everything I did in it rewarded me in some way. I'm kind of a baby when it comes to stuff like that, So this Rise of the Tomb Raider, it's out next year on PS4. You can play it now on Xbox One or 360 because of stupid exclusivity deal that, honestly, between that game coming out the same day as Fallout and being only on one console, they are burying the best kept secret of 2015. It's one of the best games of the year.
I'm just gonna say that sucks.
It sucks. Everyone should be playing this game right now, and they can't.
That blows. Like that's I hope that somebody got to buy a nice new house with whatever.
I know.
Money changed in whatever direction.
Before a Fallout, because of Fallout, I haven't touched this. So
right.
Please tell me why this game's so great.
So it's everything I love about Uncharted. In that sense of adventure and those amazing scripted moments and like the kind of fun gunplay. And it's everything I love about open world games combined.
Wow.
Which is like, now the open world sections, they're called hubs, and there's like 4 or 5 of them. And they're just big enough that you could spend a ton of time in them, or you could just rush through and do the main story stuff. So you'll basically enter this big ravine where there's like, over to the left there's a bear cave, over to the right there's a bunch of wolves. In the middle there's some Greek textbooks that if you pick up, you learn Greek, and then you can read monoliths that tell you where secrets are. Or you can just cut through all of that and go to the main mission. Like, I regularly would spend 8 hours in one hub, just hunting and gathering and finding stuff and upgrading my weapons, and then being like,
around down by the
I'm still stuck on the part where you get to go learn ancient Greek. How does that work?
It's very odd.
Learns very, very quickly.
Very
Do you remember
quickly.
when you press square to pay your respects?
Well,
this time you pressed X to learn ancient Greek.
What you do is you press X and then you learn 1/5 of Greek. And then you find the next thing, you learn the second fifth of Greek.
I had several semesters, so it came out that kind of the same way. It just took 4 years.
Yeah.
So to connect this to this show, playing this a lot made me really go, man, your move, Uncharted 4, because this is going to be a tough one to top.
Wow.
These guys have had this volley going back and forth for a long time now. I think Uncharted is very settled in its ways of, this kind of downhill jam of, I've always described it kind of as a Rube Goldberg machine. You leave and then it just keeps going, and there's action and set pieces, and it's amazing. Their set pieces are unmatched. And I think Tomb Raider has some really good ones. Naughty Dog is kind of above and beyond that. But where Uncharted falters for me is that you lose that kind of openness. Now we're seeing a little bit of it in Uncharted 4, and that sort of, you get in a car and you can go in different directions.
Yeah, and we even saw in the VGA demo last year that sort of open jungle area that looked like you were able to do things in different ways.
So one of the things I don't like about Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, which I love about Tomb Raider, is that there's no substantial connection to your weaponry in the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
You have a handgun, you fire it off a bunch of rounds, you run out of ammo, you shoot a guy, or you punch a guy, you steal his gun. You're constantly going from weapon to weapon based on what you can find. You're never like, this is my SMG. Whereas in Tomb Raider, you have a bow, you have a pickaxe, you have a grenade launcher and a shotgun and an SMG, and you get those things throughout time. And every upgrade that you do to any of them applies to all of them. So if you have 3 or 4 different bows that all have different techniques and skills, if you apply an upgrade to them to make it feel tighter or more fluid, or you can hold it back longer without your arm shaking, that applies across all bows. And you don't lose your bow. You don't drop it in a river or forget it in the last level and then find a new one. No.
That'd be cool if you could, though.
I mean, there are sections where
the
things...
next person who ruts around by
She's always running around with it kind of draped over her shoulders. And
there are scripted sections where you do lose that, but I feel like there are these hubs in Tomb Raider, and then there are these Uncharted tunnels that connect them. So there's these mission areas that go, man, that was an awesome, like, I went through this tomb or this temple run that was insane, and it was like, everything was collapsing, and I was running and jumping and climbing, but then I got to this open hub, and I could either run to the next thing or hunt bobcats.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, I really like that setup. I really like that idea of sort of like, we'll do a little bit of Uncharted, but we'll also give you some Resident Evil 4 and some Metroid Prime and some mini Zelda-esque temples, you know, to kind of throw all those things together. So, and I don't think Uncharted 4 is going to be like that. And that kind of bums me out.
I'm really curious about what Uncharted 4 is like because
Me too.
I mean, I played Last of Us when it came out. I'm playing Uncharted Remastered right now, or Uncharted 3 Remastered. And it's, if they stick with how Uncharted's been up until now, I think, and obviously it's going to be bigger and louder and prettier, but I'm really curious how it's going to work this generation because we've gotten so used to big, wide, open world. I mean, even Last of Us had a lot of customization. It had like much more, many more systems, you know, like it's more.
Which I loved.
More,
it's a lot of the stuff you actually see in the Tomb Raider games too, which is like they are still sort of doing that volley, right?
And
Which I really like.
There's that choice of, are you going to be stealthy, or are you going to be loud and actiony? And Uncharted 2 starts out and they're like, you are doing stealth right now.
Yeah.
And Uncharted 3, there's segments where you can play it stealthily, but it's sort of like, it's not like, oh, you got caught, go hide. It's like, oh, you got caught, now it's an action scene. And
Do you feel like it's a more realistic interaction you're getting with the world in this?
I don't think it's remotely realistic.
Okay,
I think it's the worst word you could associate with Uncharted, but like, I think that...
No, squid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Squid.
I mean,
Yeah.
What?
Squid, that's the worst word I could try to associate.
Okay.
Not a fan of squids?
Squids are delicious.
It'd be pretty cool if there were some squids in
but
there.
there aren't
Okay, sure.
But I'm not saying Uncharted needs to be an open world game because that's obviously
every game doesn't have to be an open
every game
world.
doesn't have to be. But I appreciate the way Tomb Raider handles open world segments between the areas that are scripted.
It handles it. It's in the way where it's like, hey, here was your cool Indiana Jones set piece. No, go explore for however you want. We'll be over here. Like,
We'll be over here
trust me,
whenever
when
you
you're on
want
your
to come
next
back.
one, we're right here. Take your time. If you want to come here in 5 minutes, if you want to come here in 5 hours, it doesn't really matter.
Is the transition ever jarring?
No, not really. I mean, because it doesn't have that same, the story doesn't have that same sense of urgency that like Fallout 4 I thought would have. Like I've never been walking around and been like, oh, my baby, you know? Like I've been hunting bobcats for 45 minutes and I'm like, that's right. I have a son or whatever it is. That's never really happened. And I will say, like, if you played the last game, which most of you should have because it's multi-platform and they remade a HD version of it, some of the weakest parts in that game were the story and that kind of like lost season 3 back half of the plane cast of characters that were your friends.
Mercy, I've killed a deer.
Yeah.
My good friend the cook will make me feel better.
Yeah. A lot of those friends, those idiots that you never cared about, they are not part of the equation here at all. So it's fixed a lot of the weakest sections, and it's focused on what's made it so great, and it's so damn gorgeous, like just a stunning looking game. So yeah, your move, Uncharted. I'm excited for that. I can't wait to play both. I know this is a PlayStation podcast. If you can get your hands on an Xbox One, I don't know if people still rent those or if you can borrow it from a friend. Just do something.
Find the ruins of a Blockbuster and search through it.
Just do something and play this game while you can.
Yeah, in a weird sort of tangential story with Crystal Dynamics, there was an interview with their senior designer Michael Brinker, and they mentioned the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver games, which they owned. I mean, those are the games that Amy Hennig cut her chops on before before Uncharted. And when talking about bringing them back, he said, "quote It's a 50-50 chance. We have in-house developers who really want to make that game. It's interesting because people look back at our history and our franchises and see that we have some really iconic IP. So gamers wonder, what are they, or where are they, and what are they going to do? Well, we're always tossing around and taking in the ideas. It's really 50-50. I am super interested in what Crystal Lee is going to do now that they've like re-elevated themselves as a premier AAA developer of like, what else do they? Well, obviously they're big enough to have 2 teams. Like there's a team that's not working on Tomb Raider.
Gex.
Oh, that gecko!
Gotta get that gecko.
God, that would be
I just
Gecko
want to
hunting
dive back into
bobcats.
the archive when you read Gex's backstory.
Oh man, I know. What a great moment.
Yeah.
Some people would say that's the most defining podcast moment of 2015.
I'd say it probably was.
No
one would do that.
Stop that. Stop it. Both
You're
of
lying
you.
to the kids.
See, I don't know what's next from these guys.
So yeah, didn't we see like sort of half-developed footage of a Soul Reaver game?
Yeah, that was a game that didn't. And then there was that
was-
Nas. Remember Nosgoth?
I do not.
The rapper?
Not that was Gothic Nas.
Oh, was that like a multiplayer game? Or
Yeah, it was a
Scepter
multiplayer
of
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like set in the legacy. That was a real.
That's
Yeah.
Illmatic Redemption,
So
right?
this is. Damn it. This is one of those.
happens every week.
This is one of those franchises. I never really got into it when I was younger, and I thought it looked cool, but it was like you can't play that. It's an M-rated game for
That's for
teens or
big
something.
burly
Yeah.
teenage boys
But
with
looking
face
back
hair.
on it now, it looks like Darksiders. It looks like a '90s comic
Yeah.
book, and I have zero interest. If they bring it back in its form that it's in now, I'm sure a lot of people will get into it. But
Yeah.
The story in that game was awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's one of those things that like Tomb Raider, where it's a lady and maybe some wolves and a dinosaur,
And you
how
can
do
bring it back and make it cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the right
Make
direction.
make
you
it
can
relevant, make it.
Do we want to
smart.
read this quote? Because 50-50 that's good odds, right?
Wait, I just read the quote. I read the entire
Yeah,
The
we
quote.
read
entire
whole
thing?
quote.
Well, it
No,
depends
That was
on-
literally what I just
I thought you were just doing a really good
all
Depends on
times
which-
there's a-
50-50
throwing
is
your
good
voice.
odds if it's like depends on what the factor is. If it's like death or $1 million,
Yeah.
you go for that. At 50-50?
I think that literally means that they either will or won't do that.
It literally does. Yeah.
There are two chances. They're not gonna.
They're gonna flip that giant coin that the Batman keeps from that man who got his face burnt. He keeps it in
no,
his
that's
dungeon.
from the penny pilfer.
He
That's
keeps
where
it
I
from the
got that.
penny
Stop
pincher.
it. Stop it.
Yeah,
Awful.
Batman villain.
Yeah. So another game that just came out is Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
Wopsy.
This is a game that is also available on last gen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed, they make those.
They do make those.
Yeah,
And
so-
that we're not. I don't mean to be a haughty scoffer at the people who have old machines in their homes. But I will say that there are some specifically weird old machines in Blops 3. There's a level where you go into a server farm in the current gen version.
It looks a real pretty server farm. A lot
It
of
looks
lighting.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Looks very futuristic because it's set in the future. In the last gen version, it's a laundromat.
Yep.
They replaced all the server racks with washing machines.
It's so weird.
And there's
odd.
a map it's outside and it's in the forest and there's a cool looking truck in the PS4 version.
Yep.
But in the PS3 version, it's just a big old pile of boxes.
So do we
a-
know the story
yeah.
of this? Was this subbed out to a
Oh,
different
there
developer?
are a lot of developers on the back of the
It's
360
actually
and
so
it's,
PS3.
it's hard to even read it's just logo after logo of different sort of
Yeah.
subsidiary third-party
Yeah.
teams worked on this port specifically, which happens as games go over time.
So I
obviously.
assume this is a design document situation where they give a design doc to the two different teams, and there's a big square on the map where something needs to be blocking this height and this distance. And
Imagine the most futuristic van you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's badass. Dudes in nanomachines are probably riding inside it. And there's some guys who are like, they're, I don't know, working out of some shack in Delaware, and they're like, yeah, real futuristic van. And they just go and do like a
Big pile of boxes.
Yeah.
just like a 2003 Honda Odyssey.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah.
Yeah, so to be
It's got a flat
sorry, go
screen
ahead.
TV in the back.
just to be clear, Brian Albert reviewed Black Ops 3 on PS4 and Xbox One and PC, and he adored it.
Yeah.
And he's great. He liked the campaign. He loved the multiplayer and loved the zombies. In the PS3 and 360 versions, it is only multiplayer and zombies.
Yeah, there's
so
no
there is no
single player.
campaign. That being said, though, the zombies is really cool because Jeff Goldblum plays a weird magician who
Yeah.
gets tentacles.
Yeah, there's a
some-
lot. They're having like we've been saying this for a while, but it feels like there's a bunch of people working at Call of Duty who just want to make. They just want to have so much fun at work, and the other guys are kind of like, we need to make a serious war game, and these guys are just like, can we get Jeff Goldblum to shoot tentacles out of his body? And they're like, yeah, well the other game's done, so sure, ship it. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah.
There's this like kind of free run Mirror's Edge mode that Max and I got to play on
It's
Up at
real-
Noon last week.
It's weird. It
Yeah.
feels kind of slow for a running mode.
Yeah.
You know, but it's
It's free jogging.
like
But it
Yeah.
doesn't feel fast for a walking mode.
Call of Duty is it's a
Beyond.
it's a very safe franchise. Clearly, it sells well, and that it sells well because they don't try to introduce some crazy new thing every year.
Yeah.
They'll introduce a small new thing like Jeff Goldblum, the magician.
Yeah.
And they're
Which
like,
I actually
"Let's see
think
how this does.
I think that like that BioShock-esque, Fallout-esque 1950s mode or whatever they're doing is sort of them regressing as much as they can in the best way possible. Because I feel like the train has left the station so hard with single player and multiplayer in Call of Duty that it's like it's now full on cybernetic augmentation, arm wall jumping, Titanfall.
Yeah.
And it used to be like, here's guns and shooting. And now it's like, you can go upside down with nuclear, radioactive flying boots and all this stuff like that. But their zombie mode is when they get to go, let's just make a weird, old-timey, strange-ass game again. I really appreciate that.
Now, we got a really cool announcement that Activision is starting a film division.
Yep.
And they're going to be doing a
Call of Duty Cinematic Universe.
That's it.
Don't call it a movie, Max. It's a cinematic universe.
You ever have one of those moments where you just want to rip your own brain out of your head and just drop kick it into a laundry hamper or something?
Yeah.
I think this is probably going to be fine. It's not for me. They're going to do something.
Do you really think it's going to be fine?
I think it's going to probably break even.
No, I'm not talking about making money.
It's going to do fine.
I'm
in terms of critical reception?
No, not critical reception, just watchability. I mean, is this a decent military movie, or is this Doom?
The best thing they could do,
Right.
I think, is not make it a military movie. Get some of that camaraderie that dudes have when they play Call of Duty together. Like, it's the guys. Make it an A-Team movie.
Okay.
But it's got some nanomachines and mech suits or something.
Yeah.
Maybe zombie show.
the movie.
I mean, they've done World War II. They've done zombies. They've done magicians. They've done nanomachines. They've done fighting aliens in Alaska.
Yeah.
They've had Predator. Did they have Predator?
No, I just love that you can say they've done magicians as part of the Call of Duty vernacular
The
now.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got
The
Ron
horse.
Perlman.
They had horses.
They have horses. Yeah, they've done Call of Duty's done so many weird different things that you say it's the Call of movie.
Yeah.
You're
Wait.
like, what does that mean?
It's weird that you said Doom, because when I heard this thing last week about the Call of Duty cinematic universe, the first thing that popped in my head was The Rock.
Yep.
I was just like, this is a vehicle designed for that man and his friends. I thought of San Andreas and him just being like, everything's blowing up and he's on a helicopter and no one actually cares, but it's like fun for that 90 minutes from the theater.
4, 5, and 6. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
I mean,
what the
pretty
concept
much,
be,
right?
But there's no reason that these have to be bad. There have been so many good military, everything from passable to actually good military action movies made.
Right.
So if you were to do something like, what Eagles Dare or Where Eagles Dare with this, I mean, that would be amazing. You could actually make a good movie.
What I want is I want them to treat the movies the way the games are treated. And so when I go to the theater and spend $15, I want a 40-minute movie that's about World War II. I want a 40-minute movie that's about a bunch of robots and a cool dog, and I want a 40-minute zombie movie. And that's what I want. I want in one ticket. I want all three
A
of those.
vignette flick. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I want it to be like Grindhouse.
With
the
Call of Duty cinematic universe. Okay.
I guess they have license to do whatever. They can. It would be interesting if they created a cinematic universe in which every Call of Duty game was interconnected.
Are they going to bring Kevin Spacey back now that they have the movie to put him in?
Maybe.
Jeff Goldblum. And can you cut off your own hand and have him fall off
I mean,
the
so that's the
building?
thing. Like, their game set the bar really high in terms of actors and actresses.
They're not going to be able to match that.
And musical score and writers. They had
if they can do that with the movies, then they're treading on some pretty big territory.
Well, again, you can make a good military movie. I just, it's hard for me to believe with the churn out perspective that they have in these things, that you really just that if they're already talking about a cinematic universe, that's a business decision, not a storytelling decision. The fact that they announced that first makes me feel gross inside.
They did it.
The same
They did it
problem
the-
we had with Age of Ultron.
They did it the same day as the Skylanders cartoon, and we all were like, "Yeah, that makes perfect sense."
You know that scene in Wolf of Wall Street with Jonah Hill and the Steve Madden shoe, and he's just like tripping balls on Quaaludes. Steve, I feel like some marketing guy was like, "Cinematic universe," and they're like, "Eureka!"
Yeah,
it's like the George Bush presidency. You've got a candidate before you have a platform. I don't know, man. I'm a little worried about. I want there to be
shout out to politics.
Why
Sorry,
build
everybody.
things? It's just the wrong way to approach it.
I mean, it's also interesting though that Activision's doing this because now it's like Warcraft is not part of this. Warcraft is Legendary owns that in terms of the movie rights, but it's interesting to be like, well, we might get a StarCraft movie or we might get a Destiny movie.
I mean, we all laughed at like comic book movies for a very long time.
Yeah.
Maybe we're on the precipice of the next big movement in $100 billion films. And maybe there's going to be 10 years or 15 years where people get video game movies right.
Yeah,
I mean,
and there could be. And I think that's the thing. This might be the best chance they've ever had. This is an easy kind of movie to do really well. It's the messaging at the beginning that troubles me. It's that same thing where you're taking your audience and you're being like, hey, people, we've got this idea, and we're thinking about the business end of it first, and what we're actually going to show you in the theater second.
So
that was how this message
The only
started.
cinematic universe I want now is the Nintendo cinematic universe, and I want it to all culminate in a Smash Brothers movie every 5 years.
that would be great.
That'd be pretty great.
amazing,
I would watch
actually.
that.
Nicely done, Marty.
Yeah.
So yeah, BlizzCon happened. Typically not a lot of stuff to talk about, but it looks like Overwatch is coming to consoles, and I'm really interested in a Blizzard game for the first time since 1997, I think.
Yeah.
Like this game looks really cool. This looks like a bunch of action figures running and jumping around and shooting each other. Kind of falls in that same category as Battleborn and.
I mean, it's the hero shooter.
Yeah,
so
the hero shooters.
and Cliffy B's new
all
game.
All of the different games, but
I'm interested because it's colorful. It's
exactly.
Like, it looks like Crayola, and I at least want to try it out.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like it looks like action figures, and I've always had a problem with StarCraft and Warcraft because they're sort of trying to be semi-serious in the universes that they're in.
Yeah.
But they look like bubblegum people. They're just like weird balloony DeviantArt creatures, and I'm just like, I can't take that seriously.
Right.
And I go play, The Witcher or Mass Effect in those particular areas, but like, I'm so down with Overwatch. It looks like what Overstrike was gonna be. It looked like Overstrike.
Fuse,
Yeah. A Saturday morning cartoon.
Yep.
Like,
God, I forgot that thing existed.
yeah.
And like you said about toys, it looks like it's just a pile of all sorts of different toys from different things. Some cartoon toys, some superhero toys, some movie toys, which looks great because all the characters are so unique. Like the character they revealed at BlizzCon is this girl, I think it's a Korean girl, who's a professional gamer who they enlist and they give her a mech.
She's basically Twitch streaming her matches.
Twitch streaming her matches.
It was so meta and awesome.
I love it.
It's such a cute, wonderful idea for a character.
And so that game it'll be coming
wanna do that
in
in real life
June
now.
to consoles in the
do
Origins
that.
edition, which I think they said $40 will get you all the characters. We still don't know if this game seems like it's going to be free to play, and then there's going to be an edition you could buy and just get a bunch of stuff that also comes with skins.
And this is the arena. Like, what is the genre for this game? Because I
It's
feel
like Team Fortress 2.
Okay.
So it's a team deathmatch shooter or just regular deathmatch shooter. But
So
it's distinct team roles. Like Team Fortress was the first one that did it, but like each character has their own wildly different abilities.
So where does this leave Battleborn?
I don't know.
That was a sad.
Good answer,
silence.
guys. Yeah, I know. That's where we are.
Thanks for asking that when Andrew was on the show.
I'm real curious to see what Battleborn does.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Gearbox has been like very like they did so much stuff with Borderlands. They string that along with they did a pre-sequel, which is funny in theory, but then the amount of DLC packs you have to go with that, and obviously you've got a fan base, but I feel like everybody else just gets tired of hearing about it if they're not diehard.
Yeah, the Battleborn is one of those games I think that suffered from being revealed too early and then going through a whole lot of growing pains, and it's still not out. And I don't know, it's like Evolve, it's like Last Guardian, where it's like, okay, you probably shouldn't have showed it that early.
Yeah.
Everything I've played of Battleborn, I've liked. I think the characters are really funny. I think the writing's really good. We'll see. I mean, that needs to come out. Got delayed again.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, this is a podcast that we do. We
Yeah.
do this every week.
We do this.
Jared, what's once again the Vault Tales?
Oh no, it's called Vault IGN. We're
Vault
talking
Tales.
about Fallout
Woo.
every week, and you can just
What
tweet
day
it.
does that go up?
That goes up every Wednesday. There'll be a new episode tomorrow.
Cool.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Tomorrow
today.
is today. Wow.
We did it.
Today is
Okay.
tomorrow. So there will be a new episode up Wednesday of the week you hear this.
Excellent.
And, and we'll be on iTunes soon. We are still doing video at this point and having a little trouble with the iTuning, but we're tuning
Baby
the
steps of
iTunes.
podcasting.
Yeah, we'll be there.
It's,
So, yeah.
It takes practice sometimes.
So yeah, that's Vault IGN. Also, I'm disappointed we didn't talk about the fact that you can play Super Dodgeball on your PlayStation now, and I just want the world to know that's possible.
Because it's not River City Ransom. When it is, we'll talk
and
about
it's
it.
and it's the arcade
This
Super
isn't the
Dodgeball.
Kunio Kun
I want those teenagers
Yeah.
beating the hell out of each other for their girlfriends and for cash, not for dodgeball.
Also, it's the arcade Super Dodgeball, which is actually, well, good, not as good as
Yep.
Nintendo's.
Kunio Kun.
Yeah, Kunio-kun. I know the
Nino
Kunio-kun.
Kunio-kun.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
you ever
all
play
right,
Dunbury Dunk Heroes?
God, okay. All right.
So good.
I'm practicing my kanji.
Okay, yes, all right. Very good, everybody. Welcome to the podcast Beyond.
It's so good, y'all. You gotta play it.
Okay.
Welcome to Japanophile Podcast.
No, it's River City Ransom basketball.
Stop it. Just that
For
sounds
4 players.
Stop. That sounds
I'm
wonderful. But just
I'm your host,
just
Jared
please,
Petty.
Please.
I once got a freeze-dried lobster from a Tokyo vending machine.
I never got a freeze-dried lobster from Tokyo.
Just I don't know what I'm doing here.
I'm
you all
traveling
for
the earth
listening.
searching for rice balls and
I
delicious.
did buy farm fresh eggs out of the vending machine there.
Jared, don't encourage him, Brian.
I wanted to actually mention one thing. Last week we talked about PlayStation Now, and we talked about games to play as if you have kids.
Yeah.
And we asked people to email us at beyond@ign.com, and we got like 150
Hundreds.
incredible emails.
Yeah.
And I read all of them, and they're amazing. And I wanted to talk about them this week, but Fallout came out, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
But there's going to be a week
That's
soon
kind
when
of it,
Fallout
yeah.
didn't come out, and we're going to address that again because a lot we all sort of poo-pooed. PlayStation.
We poo-pooed.
We defecated. we all sort of like wrote off PlayStation Now because none of us use it. Turns out a lot of people do use it. And a lot of people love it.
really like it.
Yeah.
Good. So we'll get into that.
And then join the Beyond Facebook group.
That's right.
Facebook.com/ I don't know what the URL is.
/group/podcast beyond.
That's right.
That's the one. You can check out me and Brian on Up at Noon, which is live at noon Pacific time on Thursdays, and then the episode goes up shortly after that, and then we break out little pieces, and people take them out of context, get real mad at us.
No.
But you should watch the whole thing because they do so many really neat things that don't make those breakouts. So really
dog
cool.
on last episode.
It's like you really got to watch that show live if you can, or at least the full episodes, because there's a lot of stuff that kind of falls between the cracks of the breakouts that are just really fun. Max and I just being stupid friends and goofing off and hanging out with puppies and
good stuff.
we fed a dog some cheese.
Hanging out with the pups.
But it's a fun show. Please watch that. We'll be doing House Party this weekend in San Francisco.
Oh my gosh, that's this weekend.
If you're not in town for it, you'll probably be able to listen to the episode of Game Scoop that we do afterwards, or possibly watch it. But this is obviously a thing we're going to be doing more and more of. So the second you see those tickets go up and you can get to the San Francisco Bay Area or wherever city we're in, we'd love to come see you, and you can come debate games with us and talk to us and hang out. And
they're ridiculous fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they really.
It's a really good time.
Meanwhile, PlayStation Experience is coming up in a few weeks, and we are rapidly figuring out what's going on there.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of cool stuff.
Some kind of community hangout. If nothing else, we'll walk around, high five people. Thank you all so much for listening. You can find us on Twitter. I'm Max Scoville. Marty is McBiggities with 2 G's and 2 T's. Brian is Agent Bizzle. And Jared is Petty, Jared.
Indeed.
Thank you, and beyond.
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 Beyond.